What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to continue our team preview and predictions for the 2021 college football season. And today we're going to be talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. Going to be a very good team coming into 2021, looking to do much better than they did last year. Hey, if you guys enjoy this video, please leave a like. It really helps me out a lot. It gets the video out to as many people as possible. Also, subscribe down below. A lot of you guys that watch my videos are not subscribed. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of fun here. I'm doing a lot of college football content, and soon I'm going to be trying to upload every single day for you guys. That'll be in about a month. You want to make sure you stick around. I got a lot planned. Also, leave a comment down below. You can tell me your thoughts on the Georgia Bulldogs, and you can give me some other teams that you would like to look at, or you would like me to look at in 2021. Georgia comes off in what I'm going to call kind of a disappointing season. They were trying to replace quarterback Jake Fromm, and it went not great at first, but it ended up getting a lot better. They found former USC transfer JT Daniels. Sorry, Jaden Daniels plays for Arizona State. They found JT Daniels to be that starting guy, and once he took over, this team changed immensely. This team got ran over by Florida last year, got ran over by Alabama in the late going. But overall, it was still a really solid year for Georgia. We'll talk about what they did last year in a little bit, but we got to look at the talent they lost. And offensively, it's not that much. It's the defensive side of the ball where Georgia loses a lot. But of course, we're going to start offensively. They lose quarterback D'Wan Mathis. He's going to transfer over to Temple. Now, Georgia, again, trying to replace Jake Fromm last year, tried to start Stetson Bennett at quarterback, and it didn't really work. He just was not the guy at all. And then they tried to play D'Wan Mathis a couple times, and that didn't work out at all. Again, found JT Daniels. So D'Wan Mathis, seeing as Daniels is going to be that starter, says, hey, I'm out of here. Trey McKitty leaves for the NFL, as does Ben Cleveland and Trey Hill. All three of those guys got drafted. Now, a guy that you're not going to see on this list or the list below with players returning or players coming in is George Pickens. Why? Well, if you haven't heard the news already, George Pickens is going to be out for the year. I believe tore his ACL, so he is going to be done for the year, which makes Georgia pass attack a lot less explosive. But I'm going to tell you why that might not be a huge problem just in a little bit. But we got to take a look at what Georgia lost defensively, and they lost so much off a really talented defense. Defensive lineman Malik Herring is gone to the NFL, as are linebackers Azeez Ojulari and Monty Rice. Those guys are out. Those three were just fantastic in the front seven. All of them could get to the quarterback. Ojulari and Rice could play coverage if you needed them to. Those guys were phenomenal. And Georgia loses a lot of guys out of the defensive backs. Richard LeCount, Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, all gone to the NFL. And former five-star Tyreek Stevenson is transferring out, I believe, going over to Miami. So, I mean, Tyreek Stevenson transferring out, that is huge. He was going to be a huge player for the Georgia Bulldogs this year, and now, of course, they won't have him. But as the saying goes, it's not about what you lost, it's about what you have. And Georgia still got a lot of nice talent and what should still be a really good defense this year. But JT Daniels there at quarterback, of course, Zamir White coming back at running back definitely will be that number one guy. Now, you might have been asking yourselves for the past couple of minutes, why is the George Pickens loss not a big deal? Well, they still, in my opinion at least, have probably the best group of wide receivers that they've had in a long time, even without Pickens. Wide receiver Jermaine Burton and wide receiver Kyrus Jackson really emerged last year. They should be number one and number two for the Georgia Bulldogs. And they also got a tight end transfer named Arik Gilbert, and they still have a lot of nice pieces there at tight end returning as well. And then on the defensive side, should be one of the most talented defenses in the country. Defensive line, Jordan Davis. Linebackers, Dean Nakobe and Xavier Sori. And while losing Tyreek Stevenson to the transfer and lots of other guys from the defensive backs, they're bringing in some transfers. Darion Kendrick comes over from Clemson, and Tyke Smith comes over from West Virginia. So this is still going to be a really talented defense. A first look at the Georgia Bulldogs schedule. Here's what they did in 2020. They went 8-2 overall, 7-2 in the SEC. ended up being second in the SEC East behind the Florida Gators, whom they lost to last year, and won the Peach Bowl in a comeback victory over Cincinnati. You guys know how this works by now. If you've seen my videos, if the date gets highlighted in green, it's a predicted win. If it gets highlighted in red, it's a predicted loss. I'm going to talk about some games more than others as they're just more interesting matchups to me. And the first game of the year for the Georgia Bulldogs is the most interesting game of 2021 by far. This is going to be a fantastic game to kick off the college football season with. It's the Clemson Tigers facing the Georgia Bulldogs in Charlotte, North Carolina. And while I'm considering a slight home field advantage for Clemson, they're just more used to playing in Charlotte for the ACC championship games, of which they've won 6 straight, but still very much a neutral site game, as Georgia fans no doubt will pack the stadium for this game, as well as Tiger fans. And if you already saw my Clemson video, you know the prediction that I have, and that was before Georgia got transfers Arik Gilbert and Darion Kendrick yesterday as of recording this video. But my opinion on the game does not change, although I still am going to talk about before I flash the colored text across the screen. This is a toss-up game for me. I don't know if I said that at all in my Clemson video, but this is a toss-up game for me. I could see either side winning this game. Both teams are very talented defensively. Both teams are bringing in a quarterback. JT Daniels, of course, is going to be full-time starter, and then DJ Uiagalelei, excuse me, will be that starter for Clemson, trying to replace Trevor Lawrence. And both teams are pretty similar, at least on the defensive side. Offensively, it's a little bit of a different story, but not by much. While Georgia's returning a running back, Clemson is not. But in my opinion, Clemson does have a more explosive group of wide receivers, and they also have a very good tight end, much like Georgia with Arik Gilbert. Clemson has Braden Galloway. This is going to be a back-and-forth game. I can feel it already. And the reason I'm picking Clemson to win the game, you guys, if you've watched my Clemson video, you know this by now. But the reason I am picking Clemson to win this game, I just trust them more. I really do. These teams are very similar talent-wise, and I could see either team winning this game on paper. It's going to be very close. But the reason I'm picking Clemson more is they've been in more big games. They've been in college football playoff appearances more often than Georgia. I trust Dabo Swinney more. I think DJ Uiagalelei is going to have that it factor. I just think Clemson is a more trustworthy team as of right now. And that's the only way I can put this game. Clemson, I just trust more. That's it. That is the simple fact. Now, could I end up picking Georgia come my week 1 predictions? Yeah, absolutely. A lot can change. Justin Ross might not play in this game, and that could be huge. I'm betting Justin Ross plays in this game. He's on track to, at least in my books. I believe Clemson will win this game as of right now. Again, total toss-up game. It's going to be fantastic to watch. As for the rest of the Bulldog season, it's not super difficult, but depending on whether they win or lose that Clemson game could dictate a lot going down the stretch. Their next game is against the UAB Blazers, and ever since they brought back their football program, I believe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that, they have been a pretty solid team. UAB's always been a very good team in the group of 5, one of the better teams in the group of 5. Now I know they play in Conference USA, and nobody pays attention to that unless you're a fan of a team, for which I apologize for my remark there. But I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that watch Conference USA, not a lot of people that know a lot about it, but UAB is a very solid team, a team that you do not want to overlook. That is, if you're anybody but the Georgia Bulldogs. They should be able to handle UAB pretty handedly. Then they got a game against South Carolina. South Carolina is interesting. I don't think they're going to be that good this year, but they could give some teams a scare. They got a fantastic running back in Kevin Harris and some fantastic linebackers as well. Not that great of a defensive line, though. I think Zamir White's going to be able to run all over the South Carolina team, and I think the Georgia defensive front 7 is going to be able to stifle Kevin Harris. I like the Bulldogs to win the game. I also like the Bulldogs to beat Vanderbilt. Should be an easy road win. Vanderbilt, just not a very good team. Then, first game of October, Georgia Bulldogs are going to be playing the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, Arkansas gave Georgia a scare last year. Granted, that was with Stetson Bennett starting at quarterback, and Georgia still ended up winning the game by double digits, but they gave them a scare. Arkansas showed they can play. Now, that game last year was on the road, so this game is going to be played at home for the Georgia Bulldogs, but it still could be quite a scary matchup. I definitely would not want to see Arkansas on the schedule. But Georgia just matches up talent-wise. I think the defensive backs are going to be able to stop Treylon Burks, the amazing wide receiver that Arkansas has, and breaking in a new quarterback for Arkansas is just not going to be easy moving on from Felipe Franks. I like the Bulldogs to win that game. Now, the oldest rivalry in the Deep South, Georgia against Auburn. This is usually a pretty good game, although last year was really lopsided. Georgia handled Auburn, and I think they're going to be able to handle Auburn again this year. Auburn breaking in a new head coach, the old head coach over from Boise State. And I believe Auburn's offensive line is going to get better. I had a comment in my Alabama video saying I would not use talent when speaking about Auburn's offensive line. But I'm betting on it's going to get better. Now, how much better? Well, I'm not quite sure. I believe it's going to get a little bit better, but just not a whole lot of talent there. I think Zamir White is going to be able to break through Auburn's defensive line, and Georgia's defensive line is going to be able to break through Auburn's offensive line. Then they get a game against Kentucky. Kentucky, my most underrated team of 2021, and I think a lot of people's most underrated team of 2021. This is going to be quite a fun team to watch. Although playing Georgia, this is a hard one for Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky has a huge shot to win this game. I'm going to give the Georgia Bulldogs the win here. Then they get their bye week. Perfect time for a bye week, as then the next week you got to go play the Florida Gators. Florida's a hard team for me to figure out. Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts are gone, and I don't know what to believe about Emory Jones or Kamor Gamble. I believe Kamor Gamble is going to be really good. But is that going to be proven? I don't know. And then as for Emory Jones, he could be an NFL draft pick. He could be, but he could also be very poor. Florida's just a hard team for me to figure out. Now, that defense for Florida, I think is going to be one of the better ones in the SEC behind Georgia and Alabama, of course. They have a terrific defensive back seven. I don't think Zamir White's going to have a lot of long runs unless he can get behind that secondary. But saying that, Florida's defensive line has a lot of questions. I believe Zamir White's going to be able to break free for some nice runs, and they're going to be worried about Zamir White. So JT Daniels will be able to air it out. I like the Bulldogs to win that game. And past the Florida game, they have a pretty easy road, in my opinion. Playing Missouri at home, a lot of people are hyping up Missouri. I don't see a lot of top 25 potential in this team. They were one of my more overrated teams. I believe I had them at number 9 or number 8. I like Georgia to win the game. I also like Georgia to beat Tennessee. I mean, there's so much going on with Tennessee. A lot of people transferring, or a lot of players transferring out of Tennessee. They're bringing in a new head coach, and now there's recruiting scandals. It's just a whole mess at Tennessee. I don't see Georgia having a problem with the Volunteers. I also think they're going to be able to beat Charleston Southern pretty handily. FCS versus FBS, there's just no competition. And then they play Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is not a team that you want to overlook. Georgia Tech has a lot of nice pieces on both sides of the ball. They really do. Now, does it stack up talent-wise with Georgia? Absolutely not. I couldn't tell you the last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia, probably before I was born. Georgia Tech just doesn't compare talent-wise to the Bulldogs. I like Georgia to win that. And with that, only one game is highlighted in red. I have the Bulldogs going 11-1 this year. Could I see them going undefeated? Yes, absolutely. If they can get past that Clemson game, as I've said, that's a toss-up. I think they have a great shot at going undefeated, as their schedule is not too difficult. That road game against Auburn, you might want to watch out for that. Kentucky, Arkansas could give a little scares, but I think ultimately Georgia will win. That Florida game, I'm giving Georgia the edge in that game. I could see a way Florida could win it, but I'm giving the edge to Georgia. Now, with that being said, I'm not a huge fan of JT Daniels, but I'm starting to believe a little bit more. But if he just doesn't pan out and isn't a full-time starter, 9-3 is my worst case scenario for Georgia. As I talked about, Auburn, Florida, and Clemson probably going to end up being those 3 losses in this scenario. Do I see Georgia going 9-3? No, absolutely not. That is the worst case scenario. I see Georgia dropping a game somewhere, though. I mean, with Clemson on the schedule and then Florida, 11-1 or 12-0. I really consider them going undefeated, putting Clemson at 11-1. But again, I just trust Clemson more. That's going to be a fantastic game. I'm going to tune into that one. That should be a lot of fun. And I think that's going to dictate a lot. Georgia should be players in the college football playoff this year. They should be in the conversation. They usually always are. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bulldogs can do in 2021. And that is going to do it for my video. Be sure to leave a like again. As I said in the beginning, it gets it out to as many people as possible. Please subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. I do a lot of college football content, and I'm going to take the weekend off. I'm going to be taking weekends off for about a month. I'll let you guys know when I'm not going to be taking weekends off anymore. But the next team coming up on Monday is going to be the Iowa State Cyclones. Ring the bell, comment down below your thoughts on the Bulldogs this year. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all of you guys on Monday when we get to talk about the Iowa State Cyclones. Goodbye.